Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. This is episode 3 of the A Bit of Everything podcast. We have today on the show Ivan Pelly, Ashton's father.
True. We have Ivan Pelly, a.k.a. my dad, on the show. This is part of our, this is us fulfilling our promise to book a wide range of guests from all walks of life on the podcast. And this is phase 1, dad phase.
Yeah, we're planning currently to have Ivan on and then my dad, Art, on. And then maybe a bit of a crossover episode where we have both of them on at the same time.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
You know what my biggest fear is, though?
What's your biggest fear?
When you have like a body of work, like you've got episode 100, and you look back and you're like, wow, that was really great. We had some of the best guests, except, remember when your dad was on and that was the worst one?
Yeah.
That would be terrible.
The chances of that are
Slim
to nil.
So what you need to promise me right now is, if I'm the worst, you need to work hard to go out and get somebody worse than me after, so that I'm not the worst.
Someone who we're just certain will be terrible.
Yes,
if you're the worst, we'll go out and we'll get who will we get, George? That could be worse.
We'll go to like a kindergarten and we'll just choose a kid.
And we'll choose the quietest kid.
Yeah, or the loudest might honestly be worse.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
The quiet kid might end up crying, and that'll be like the low point.
And then we just start belittling him or something.
That's true. That's gonna make this one look pretty good.
Yeah, it'll look awesome. I've already but said that I think you might be the ultimate podcast guest.
Oh gosh, now the bar's just so high.
Well,
I will
maybe
never.
not the ultimate, but a very solid podcast guest.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if you are our worst one out of 100.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence.
In fact, I think episode 100, we'll look back and we'll say who's our worst, and then we'll
have him back on.
Yeah.
And really get after them.
And really
make them
feel
real bad.
Yeah, for what they did to us.
Yeah.
So do you guys edit out the bad parts, or is it just straight through?
It's generally straight through, almost, because there are no bad parts.
One might say.
Yeah.
That's good.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. Very organic.
You can't censor the horse. That would be
actually
a violation of freedom of speech.
That's animal rights.
True.
You'd get a series of lawsuits against you. Kids in 2050 will learn about that in their AP Gov class. Horse v. A Bit of Everything podcast.
Horse prevailed.
The horse won.
In a landmark case, the horse won, establishing precedent for not being able to censor the horse.
Speaking of animals, I told you guys my bear dream, didn't I?
You told me, not George.
Did I share my bear dream? I might have told you my bear dream.
Not that I remember.
Oh. So I was going up a road, and it was kind of like San Marcos Pass. It was kind of in the country with hills. And I was on a Segway, and there were bears coming the other way, but they were also on Segways. And for some reason, I didn't feel threatened. And I think my logic in the dream was that because we're all on Segways, we have this in common. And so we're not going to get into it.
You can give each other a knowing nod and be like,
yeah, just kind of a little Segway wave, and we each go on our way.
It's kind of like the bro nod, but it has more to do with the Segways than anybody being bros.
Yeah. Like nobody's gonna eat anybody here because we're all friends.
Also, to a certain extent, you can kind of blend in. Maybe they don't even register you as an outsider.
True. In my dream, I didn't look down, so I cannot rule out that I was wearing a bear suit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there had to be some sort of reason they didn't view you as a threat.
Yeah.
I've seen a bear in the wild, I think, once. But I don't really remember it. But it's I was in Yosemite when I was a lot younger, and I remember it was oh, there's a bear, and I feel like I looked and I might have seen a bear, but I can't call to mind. But I want to see a bear in the wild and
Well, it's funny you say that because in my theology class, which is really not a theology class, because we got this new teacher. He's kind of an outsider. Kind of shaking things up in the department. We're watching this movie, The Edge, which has which has Alec Baldwin in it.
So good.
So good. And Sir Anthony Hopkins.
So good.
So good. He's probably in like the Royal English Acting Company or something.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Royal Shakespeare Company?
Royal Shakespeare
If
Company.
he's not, he should be.
Yeah.
Is that a big thing? Is that like a
Yeah, it's like the thing.
the,
Yeah.
the thing?
Yeah.
Everybody who's anybody's in that.
Yeah.
So we're watching this, and a big part of this is that they encounter this big, I think it's Kodiak bear. That's a type of bear
That's awesome.
in the wild in like Alaska or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know where it was.
Yeah. We'll say Alaska.
We'll say Alaska.
That sounds like where you'd
It's
find
going
a
to be on the
Kodiak
quiz.
bear.
You better find out.
And so ultimately what I'm saying is I haven't seen a bear in real life, but I've seen a bear in a movie.
That's a very long-winded way of getting to that. But no, I'm impressed. That's
I feel like George's bear story would be a good icebreaker at a cocktail party. Like if you had an
Yeah.
awkward pause, you could just say,
Yeah, I saw a
I
bear.
feel like I saw a bear when I was a kid, but I don't remember it, and just see where it goes from there.
I think I saw a bear, guys.
Oh, I saw a bear. I can't be sure that
Yeah.
it was a bear or
Yeah.
that I saw it.
It would
but-
either kick off a lively discussion or a really awkward pause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like what the heck is going on?
I think that's actually a good like. That's a good you get a good read of your
Yeah.
of your
Yeah.
of your talking part. I don't know what talking partners.
Your conversational buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if they say, "Oh, that's a stupid story,"
I'm out. Peace.
Then you're
you want
out.
to hear about my bear?
and you weren't the one for me.
You've lost me.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to go to a party where you didn't know very many people and just make up a different lie to every person you meet about who you are and what your background is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just see if you could like maintain.
Yeah, see if
you
it
know.
ever comes.
I
Yeah,
think
full
you
circle.
could, and I
Yeah.
think about that in relation to doing like accents too. Like, Dad, you always say we should go to England and like just go to some random pub and do some English accent to the dude and see if
See if you can pull it off.
you can pull it off. And I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the lie at a party thing.
Yeah.
A little bit of wind. Let me shield the mic.
Yeah.
Um,
Should we explain we're outdoors?
We are outdoors. This is due to COVIDity. You know, with this whole COVID thing,
This whole COVID stuff, man.
we're finding that, you know,
more and more we're doing these podcasts outdoors.
right.
Almost 100% of the time.
Yeah. So, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, they're kind of the same thing, and it's this. Even if someone finds it a little fishy, your story a little fishy, or they say, "Oh, that accent doesn't sound like authentic,"
Yeah.
they're not gonna assume that you're lying. That's just not gonna be their first
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
And even if they do, I don't think they're gonna like come after a stranger like, "You bastard! You didn't go
lied
to
to
that
me."
high school."
Yeah. You're not an epidemiologist, liar.
I think where it would get interesting is if like you're at a party, say you're like passing yourself off as a cardiologist and you're not, and then you run into some other doctor who's maybe not a cardiologist, but he
Right.
knows enough about
Who
it. to,
knows
like,
what that actually
you
is?
start
Yeah.
delving into the details and like, could
Yeah.
you get yourself out of it? Could
Yeah.
you like dodge and weave enough to make it believable?
That's where these stock like meeting or small talk statements come in. I'm thinking of it's all about finding that balance.
Oh yeah.
You
I don't like to
it's
talk shop.
It's a give and take, stuff like that. That's what we were working on this Gov document. That's a weird way of putting it. It was an assignment from our AP Gov class, and my friend Will one of the questions. It was about balancing the federal budget, and it was like, what did you learn? And Will was gonna be like, I don't know, I don't really want to go into the too political, so he just said, it's a give and take. So it's like,
And you got away with it?
Yeah.
Well, with a
Well,
budget,
I
that's
mean-
kind of true, right? I mean, that's a good answer
It's
for a
literally
budget.
a
That's what it is.
yeah, but it is that for like everything to a certain. I mean, like
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a good stock small talk thing.
Right.
Definitely.
You can whip that out in any scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could almost see having a tattooed on your wrist, like just
Yeah.
a handful of them ready to go.
Yeah.
Even a temporary
Oh,
tattoo.
cool. Oh yeah, it's a give and take.
It's about finding that balance.
What I'm thinking about this is that it's a give and take.
Yeah, you guys can't see, but as we're saying that, we're looking at our wrists as
Yeah.
if we have tattooed stock
Yeah.
phrases.
Yeah, that kind of thing happens in my English class because our teacher is kind of a real wild card. So, like, let's say you didn't read the chapters that you were supposed to read. At any point, she could just be like, let's hear from you, and then say your name.
Yeah. And
Let's hear from you, Ashton. That is sort of my worst nightmare. In that class, there's many awkward oh my gosh, this wind is killer. There's a lot of awkward pauses. And I think that Zoom, online school has made school kind of more awkward in general. Because normally there's sort of you can kind of get quips in edgewise at real school.
Yeah, on online school, you gotta like unmute yourself, say a little goof, and then like mute yourself again, and like you can't hear anyone else reacting to it.
And the delay too. There's a little bit of latency, so it's possible that you think you're not talking over anybody, but then like the teacher's like, "All right, let's get moving," and then you come in with your little quip, and you're like expecting,
That doesn't stop a freshman. We have a football Zoom class, which has the entire San Marcos football program in on it, which is like 140 kids, and there's this one freshman who will just like constantly be unmuting himself to like say little jokes, but like he's an incoming freshman, so he's never met any of the coaches. He's never met any of the other players, so he's just like this guy, and he's so bold.
Yeah.
Or he'll just unmute himself and laugh, and then mute himself again. Like, what is this guy doing?
Sounds like he's gonna fit right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I think Zoom could benefit from maybe this is a pro feature, but you should be able to how you can mute yourself and you can turn off your video. They should have like a fake freeze where you can like make it where it looks like your internet's cutting out, but it's not really.
Yeah. There's your answer to when the English teacher calls on you. You haven't read the book.
Yeah.
Fake your little internet. That would be good. I see that coming in handy.
Yeah, you just wouldn't want like an icon for it, like the mute icon, because everybody could see
Right,
the fake internet icon.
Ashton Pelly is currently faking poor connection right now.
You can basically do anything on online school, or rather not do anything, and then just say, "Oh, sorry, my Wi-Fi was weird," and like older teachers will be like, "Oh, cool, no, I get it, man, it's the worst."
Yeah, that's kind of you can kind of. I really like being a first semester senior, and here's why. You can, especially right now, there's so many reasons that you didn't do your that you can say you didn't do your homework.
Yeah.
Still, these are crazy times. That's a big one.
All this COVID stuff.
COVID stuff, man.
I should probably remind you that I'm still here.
Right.
While you're saying
well, I've used this. I've used these, obviously the crazy times is maybe a little bit to ham it up, but there have been times where I haven't done homework because I was working on college stuff. Then I emailed the teacher, say I'm working on college stuff. It's just nice to have that as an option.
In a way, it's kind of lucky that you guys are fortunate that it's now, because like 50 years ago, they would have been like, well, I don't know, guys, just come back in 2 years and we'll know whether we're still doing school or not.
Yeah.
And like 50 years from now, it'll probably be all online, and it'll be so amazing that like people just don't go to school. Why would you? But like right now, it's sort of just the most convenient time to be able to do it. But
true.
But
yeah, in the past they'd like be sending letters to all the houses, like
and in the
try
future,
again in like 6 months.
And in the future, when Wi-Fi is obsolete and the replacement is so good that no one ever has poor connection, there's no excuses.
And it's all going to be like 3D and immersive.
Yeah,
and,
it's like you can't fake that.
Yeah.
That would be kind of. What did they do? Like Spanish flu? Did they shut down school? Probably, or were they like, it's the devil? We just gotta.
I think they were.
That's
a good question. I think they were kind of busy fighting World War One, so I don't know if school was a big priority.
That must have been brutal.
Yeah.
It's crazy because like right now it's like, okay, it feels like one of the crazier times in like history, but like think about in the middle of World War One, like by far the biggest war ever in the entire world. You don't know if it's ever gonna end. You don't know what countries will remain after, and then a pandemic worse than the coronavirus comes through and just starts killing like a third of the population.
Yeah.
Like
that's insane.
That's on another level.
Well, the war itself is like the thing about the pandemic is that unless I feel like it really has no impact on people until it has a really big impact on, like,
Yeah.
so for a lot of people, they just live their life normally, and they don't even see the impact.
Yeah.
And then, of course, for the people that do, they get it really freaking bad. But in like a war, everybody's
Yeah.
like the conditions around you would change substantially.
Yes. Like all the the young men are just gone now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
dying.
Well,
Yeah.
I interviewed my dad about his experience in World War II, and he, so he was a little kid, so he was maybe 6 or 8 or somewhere in that range, and he told me he remembered walking to school with his brother in the morning, and they would sort of point out together the houses that were gone from yesterday. So, like, they'd be walking down the street and go,
That's
well, I'm pretty sure that
crazy.
house was there yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's just a big smoking hole in the ground. And that was their, like, so as far as visible versus not visible, like,
Yeah.
you can easily go out, walk around, see somebody not wearing a mask, forget your mask, and it just seems like a normal day in the world.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, was it Graham Hams or Poppy that was saying they would like play, or they like there was some like crashed plane.
oh, yeah. So my
the-
dad and his cousin saw a German plane go down across the fields.
Did you guys mention that you grew up in England?
Oh, no, we grew up in England.
Ivan grew up in England.
Yeah.
So.
So, yeah, if you're in California thinking,
And-
that
and-
doesn't seem accurate,
Yeah.
that's why.
And I didn't grow up in England, but oftentimes it feels like I did.
Okay. Ashton does this whole thing where he calls England his true homeland and stuff. And England's a nice place, but come on.
So, yeah, so him and his cousin just, like, sprinted off across the fields, and I guess the first responders got to the plane before
Did they
did.
sprint towards the plane?
Yeah, they wanted to see what happened. They were
That's
like,
terrifying.
yeah. They just wanted to check it out.
I think about that sometimes when I see planes flying kind of low, or like a plane descending. I'm like, are they going where they're supposed to be going? Is that like
You guys good? Or?
you guys need me to call someone?
That reminds me of this time when I was a kid. We so these two events happened, and the first one was I stayed at my grandparents, was staying at my grandparents, and there was like a long lane that ran down between the fields at their house, and somebody had abandoned a car at some point down the lane. So me and my brother thought, oh, that'd be cool to go, like, just check out the car, and like we were into electronics and stuff, and there was like, it was a really old car that had like a dashboard you could get behind and you could take the switches off. So we sort of went in there and like basically we didn't gut it, but we took some stuff out of the car, and it was abandoned, and it was all fine.
That's so old timey.
Yeah.
It's so old timey. Well, then part two is sometime later there was another car parked down the lane, and we're like, oh, cool, a new car. So we go down there, we get in, and we start like taking stuff off the dashboard, and then we realize this is somebody's car, and they're coming back right now.
Oh my gosh.
How did that end?
We ran away.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah, I think there was some
funny.
yelling and maybe some chasing, and
Yeah. Yeah, no, England is a nice place. English people, I think, at least where we go in England, for the most part, I like them. They seem nice and like just kind of like jovial.
Yeah. Chill.
Just kind of
Friendly.
like, chill. On the, I don't know, like it's kind of like farmy and
Yeah, it
stuff
just
like
seemed
that.
like kind of mellow.
Yeah, but not all of them. And one time, okay, I gotta shield this mic for a second. One time, that's gonna impair the audio quality of my voice. One time, we were doing these trick shots off of this. It's like kind of a cliff, but there's like a trail that goes. It's a very steep hill, and there's a trail that kind of zigzags up it. We were going from the top, throwing a tennis ball into a trash can at the bottom, and there was this lady with her little babies.
What do you call them?
Little
human offspring?
Yeah.
Babies. There's a word for that. What is it?
little children.
I'm gonna go with babies. I don't know if that's the correct term, but
And we were doing it, and we were pretty good about not hitting people. Like I think
I'd say we had a perfect track record of not hitting people.
Yeah. Oh, we definitely had a perfect track record. Like yeah, like we never hit someone, and we usually paused if there was even a remote chance that it could hit them.
Yeah, I would say it was the most respectful exercise you could imagine.
Yeah. And then this lady said, in her little English voice, she was like, "Are these your children chucking the balls off the cliff?" to my dad.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah." And she's like, I forget what she said after that, but it was something
It was almost racial. It was like, go back to where you
no,
came from.
no.
I think.
She literally said,
Yeah.
she said like, bloody tourists, go back to where you're from, or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty harsh considering we were just outdoors and
Throwing
throwing a
balls
ball.
into a trash
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
not
It's
that
literally
close
like
to-
the most wholesome kid thing to do. Like,
Yeah, you're not like doing drugs or
Yeah.
like vandalizing something.
Which is ironic because that parking lot was pretty well known for, I think, people actually doing drugs and exchanging like drugs.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
It was probably the most
My-
wholesome thing that had ever happened.
By
in that
far the
parking lot.
most family-friendly activity that ever happened. Go back to where you came from.
We can actually post the link, or you can.
no,
Oh,
yeah.
to the
we'll,
trick
We'll
shots.
put that
Yeah.
in the
Link of this.
description,
Yeah.
and at the end of the video. So we film these trick shots and we put it on YouTube, and they're called Bro Stellar trick shots.
Which is
Sort of a
funny.
play on words on Dude Perfect. Poking fun at them maybe a little.
Our adversaries, our equals.
yeah.
We both have a certain amount of respect for each other.
Yeah,
so
there's
we
a
can do
mutual
these
respect there. It's all in good fun. We're just bantering. And at the end of that video, we caught it on camera, this interaction, and I think we put like subtitles on it. And then also,
Oh, that's on camera?
Yeah,
No
that,
way.
that was
Oh,
on camera.
I didn't know that.
Also, I'm pretty sure. So that was probably 4 years ago that happened.
Yeah.
2016 sounds about right. Last summer, we went to England, and I swear I saw this lady walking that same trail with her children, now a little older.
Her
I
former
s-
babies.
No, I swear. And because in the video, she's wearing this kind of like bucket hat, not in like a stylish like streetwear sort of way, like in
Yeah.
a quaint English old lady, not old
Yeah,
lady,
yeah,
but
yeah.
quaint English
Yeah,
lady
yeah,
way.
I can picture.
And her
that.
Yeah.
children are kind of wearing their own mini versions of it. And then I saw a lady wearing a similar hat with children that were now walking but still very young,
4 years older than those.
4 years older.
Did your eyes make contact from across the parking lot?
No, but I swear this was her, and I didn't do anything. Nothing came of it, but it was just kind of like, oh, I know
Okay,
you.
I know what
You're still, you're
Still
doing-
patrolling.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a story similar to that where I was golfing, like I would say 3 weeks ago at La Cumbre Country Club, which is like a pretty fancy golf
Yeah.
place, and I'm like average at I'm pretty bad at golf.
Did you do some faux pas, George?
I don't know what faux pas means, but
Um,
I'm scared in golf of there's a lot of like unspoken rules, I think.
Yeah.
True.
And I'm very scared of breaking them.
Yeah.
And like having some like older gentleman like discipline me for it or something.
yeah, that I feel like that.
And
Yeah.
it was like the first hole is right by like the clubhouse, and you're up on this big hill, and you tee off.
And there's some rule like, oh, like never tee off by the clubhouse or something.
It's a sucker hole. They try to make you play it, but really you're not allowed to. No, but it's like this big hill, and there's like all this grass down below, and you're supposed to hit it straight, which was what I was attempting to do, but I kind of hit it more to the left than I
Yeah.
should have, and it landed on a different hole.
Oh yeah.
And there's a guy driving his cart near the ball, and the ball bounced like 30 feet away from him and kind of like bounced and then rolled to a stop near his cart,
Yeah.
which I was like, oh, that was a bad hit. But obviously no one's hurt here.
Yeah.
Like,
No harm done.
and he like got out of his cart and was like, "You have to yell 4," and like threw my ball back at me.
What?
Yeah, and I was like all nervous that I was gonna mess something up, and then right off the bat I was like, "Oh God, this is gonna
Yeah.
be terrible."
You should have
Yeah.
you should have mouthed I did yell 4, but like with no voice, just like, and then he would have felt bad.
Hear me?
Yeah. He would have thought it was either his hearing or you have some like vocal ailment.
Yeah.
A similar thing, not that severe, but when we were golfing at Glen Annie, George,
Mhm.
you guys, we were going from, if any of you guys know the Glen Annie golf course, there's that one hole that's very scenic and it's like from the very top. You know
Hole
the one?
16.
Hole 16.
Is that the one where you whiffed like 30 times?
I
in a
whiffed
row?
like, I had some serious yips on that hole. 'Cause I-
Arguably the worst golfing display I've
yeah,
ever seen.
I'm not a good golfer, but I had some fine drives that day, and I really wanted to get a good one off the like cool looking
You can
one.
like see, you can
You
like
could, like,
overlook the ocean, and it's like really, it's a cool
You can
place.
see it go super far and stuff, and I whiffed probably 15 times in a row.
Oh, God.
And that was insane.
I used to caddy for my dad when I was a kid. I used to just pull the little hand
Yeah.
cart with the clubs around the course. And there was this one hole that was it was kind of mostly all no, it was all downhill, and it went like around a corner.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me on that hole, it's like, how fun would it be if this hole was just all concrete and it just all ended up at the hole, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
so if you
Just
could
kinda
basically
funnel.
just hit the ball in front of you,
Yeah.
it would end up in the hole. You just get to watch it roll down,
Yeah.
go up the banks and down, like maybe like spiral around the hole as it goes in.
It's like those things in England where you put the coin in and then it.
Oh yeah, the little spiral thing that goes
Yeah.
around. For
Those are
ages.
in America too, Ashton. We
No,
have-
well, I've only seen them in England, and in this.
They have
this
that at the
might
zoo.
Be,
They have
this,
that at the zoo.
This might be because I've spent so much of my childhood in
One of my
England
formative years there.
that it's just just statistically it's more probable that I encountered them in England.
If you have the same memory in the USA and in England, you'll probably choose the English one just
Yeah.
to hold on to.
Because it's better.
Yeah, because it's better.
The problem with English coins is most of them aren't round. They have like
true.
Oh,
you know
that's
they're like
funny.
7-sided coins that don't work in those machines.
Kind of roll it. And it just
Yeah,
like
they get kind of creative with the shapes of their coins. I don't know if
Yeah.
that even.
Coins. Oh,
Coins.
what they should have
Yeah.
here. So in England, they've got, I think it's a 2-pound coin. It's like a coin within a coin. Like the middle is silver, and then there's a gold rim around the outside.
Oh, that's
It's really
cool.
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are cool. English coins. See, so much about England. Okay, if I
I don't know if you're joking or not. Like
it's a joke.
it's a joke, but you like England.
It's a joke, but I think it really is sincere that I like England.
Well,
Obviously, I have friends here, and that's all good, and the people here is what I'm attached to. But and the location is also very good. Santa Barbara is totally cool. I do prefer Porthleven. It's called.
Yeah, but could it also be that you're there for 2 weeks a year, so it's like you're packing those with fun. You're seeing your family you don't see often. Maybe that's upped it standing in your memory banks.
Is it pot? Well, okay. Let's go. Let's take this point by point.
All right.
If we're addressing just the location, Porthleven, let's say scenery, just like niceness of the location.
Yeah.
Porthleven
Wow.
probably has Santa Barbara by a little bit.
Ivan?
Yeah, they're different, but definitely neck and neck. Portland could arguably be better.
It's possible.
What's Porthleven like?
It's like this. We're actually reading this book. I mentioned this last episode, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and it's like this whole thing about they like this pastoral land in England, and there's like sheep, and they're like dairy workers, and like all stuff like that. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's super. It's like rural. There's literally a cow field across the street from our grandparents' house.
That's cool. Is that where you grew up, Ivan?
No, we.
Nah.
I think they moved there about 20 years ago. So Ashton and
Yeah.
Oliver have been there
Oh,
plenty of times, but that's about
Yeah.
when it started. Yeah.
well, get this for this being so English. Dad, I forget what we were on the way to. I think we were just on the way to the airport last year, and we stopped by we went to your old school.
Oh yeah.
We went and 2 of your old houses.
Yeah.
And the one, so he already mentioned that he lived with his grandparents. So every house in England, not every house, but a lot of houses in England have a name
Yeah. Instead of like a house number.
and instead of a house number.
That is cool.
Yeah,
I'll give England
that
that
is
one.
that is super cool. And your grandparents' house is, well, I don't know if this is a name or a church label, but it's
Yeah.
called the Old Rectory.
Yeah. Well, that so a rectory would be the house that goes with the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
That's cool.
So it's a name, but it's also kind of a
It's
church
title.
title. And Dad, your grandfather was a vicar who lived in the Old Rectory.
Oh
That is
my
true.
god.
That is super
What is a
English.
vicar?
It's like a pastor, a church
Yeah.
pastor. Yeah.
But come on, vicar.
Yeah, vicar in the Old Rectory. I don't know. So, what would be an example of a house name? Because I'm trying to think. Like, if I named my house, what could it be?
They're usually like rustic country names.
Yeah.
Like the croft would be a typical one, where a
yours
croft
is-
is like a farming term, or like
What was the
my
one that
uncle's
we
house
visited?
is Purple's farmhouse. So it's
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so sick.
What's the one that we visited? Not the Old Rectory, but the other one.
McConkey's. I think.
McConkey's.
Yeah.
And there's another. What was the other one? There's a few names of houses that you lived in.
Well, that was pretty much it while I was there. But yeah, there's all kinds of. Well, Dolphin Cottage was your
No,
grandparents'
there's
house.
one other house that maybe you didn't live in, but
Somebody else
was
did.
lived in, and they talk about
There's
it a
got to
lot.
be at least
There's a
another
lot of
house.
stories.
Oh, Foskett.
Foskett.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Foskett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, but like in London, they're not.
Yeah,
They're not naming every
Is it
apartment.
so-
I think they're more about. There's going to be more house numbers than names, although
Probably in
there
the
will-
city.
In the city, yeah. But they also do this crazy thing with the streets where like they keep changing the name of the street like every block or every couple of blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
So prior to GPS, it was pretty hard to like find your way around. Cause,
Yeah, but
like,
then there would be some like old London taxi driver who knows it all by heart or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Oh, they have to do that. I think they still
Yeah.
do that. They
Yeah.
call it the knowledge. And some guys take like
The
15.
knowledge.
Yes, that you have the knowledge. And they take like I read some story. The guy took like 10 or 15 years to like memorize every street in London because that's the way you have to.
Yeah.
Back then you had to do it. I think now it
Yeah.
would probably be more about GPS.
Yeah.
But and they also had to know not only like the roads but like the best ones to take at any given time of day or day of the week.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
There was the first episode of the series Sherlock with
Oh, that's a great series.
it's a great
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict
Yeah.
Cumberbatch and the guy from The Hobbit. I forget his
Yeah.
name.
Martin Short?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
I think
Yeah.
so.
He also plays Tim in The English Office.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
The first series of that, it's it's a serial killer, and they're tracking him down. And spoiler, sorry if you haven't watched it. It's the first episode. You can skip ahead if you want. The killer is the taxi driver, and it's like, and I don't know if this was explicitly expressed, but the way I interpret it was like, oh, like he's memorized all the streets. He's kind of a genius too.
Yeah.
Like he's working this really kind of mundane job, but he's a genius, and he's a sick genius
Yeah,
at
a
that.
bit of a crazed
Yeah.
genius. That seems like the least efficient possible way to do a city. Like that's
Yeah.
like what are you guys doing? Like just change it.
Well, because
Well,
in the
it's-
olden days, each block was a village, so they didn't even know the other people existed. They were so isolated. So
They all had their one cow and
Yeah.
some little like
Yeah. At some point, the
Fabric,
whole
man.
thing merged, and it's like, oh no, we've got all these streets. What are we gonna
Been
do?
here the whole time.
yeah, they're all speaking different languages.
That's actually true. I read if you read Bill Bryson's The Mother Tongue, he talks about villages in England back in the day when like people were born, lived, and died in the same village, and they never traveled anywhere. That somebody like 2 or 3 villages away would have such a different accent that you wouldn't really necessarily understand them if you met
That
them.
is wild.
Yeah. That is crazy. England. No, I'm not a huge fan of the literature we read in English often, but I have to admit this guy who wrote this book, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, Thomas Hardy. He's got this whole description of the English countryside. He does that in a way that's pretty cool. Like that, like you read the paragraphs and it's
That's-
like
that's
like
freaking-
whoa,
that's
you did
sweet.
that in a. Here's what all these really good authors, this is what they do. Like the words they use like don't make sense in a literal sort of way, but they just kind of like all contribute to
Yeah.
this like to this image of like, and you understand it,
Yeah,
but they don't really.
I've thought of that. I can't call to mind an instance of this, but like, gosh, I'm.
Well, in this book, it's one of the things was like, it was like leafy time or something, like the passage of leafy time, and it was just
Yeah.
like what that doesn't really mean anything, but it's like, oh, it's like, kind of like vines everywhere, or like foliage. and
I feel
stuff.
like Lord of the Rings was like that because I remember reading that. I had to do a book report in high school, and I didn't know any of the books on the list. And Lord of the Rings, I didn't know that either, but at least it didn't sound as boring as the other ones.
Yeah.
So I picked that, and I think we had to read all 3, so it was like 1,000 pages by the time you were done.
Yeah.
And I feel like he had super good descriptions of like landscape and stuff,
Yeah.
like that would go on for pages, and I was in a bit of a hurry, so I'd be sort of skimming, like, okay, let's get past the landscape bit to the next
Yeah.
bit that's plot, so I
Yeah.
can write about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's super good at that.
I
those
thought of it.
descriptions.
Is like I was reading this book and it was talking about like the melancholy sound of like car horns or something.
Yeah.
And like when you read that, you're like,
Oh, you told
yeah,
me.
that,
I think
that-
he's.
yeah. That kind of sets the scene and that makes sense. But then if you think about car horns, it just sounds like it's like that's not.
Yeah.
It's just like car horn. But then when you read it, it's like, oh yeah, that's like that's the mood.
Yeah. So reading's good.
You're a huge fan.
I'm a big fan of reading. Yeah. I said this in the last one. I don't know how to find a book that I like. That's a real page turner.
I think you'd
anymore.
probably just ask George. I think George will tell you.
But George,
Yeah,
they
I
rave.
have.
I feel like you probably have.
They rave about things. So I don't know. I don't know if I can trust them.
Yeah.
Just my honest opinion. No, we gave you a 3-book series. It's a graphic novel. Nice little intro for you. We don't want to plunge you into the
Yeah.
depths.
Short on words, big
You
on
know,
papers.
I can't watch it, which is annoying. But I might get to that. Yeah. We didn't talk about it also, but Dad, your school from England that we went, super English school, literally looked like Hogwarts.
Oh yeah.
And that was a boarding school?
No, that wasn't. I went to a boarding school, but we didn't visit that. Actually, I don't know.
Was it the boarding school? No, the boarding school was in England, and your family lived in the U.S.
Yeah. No, the school we visited was the one I went to after boarding school, and it was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
I would occasionally ride a horse to school because my aunt had horses.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. So we'd take 2 horses, and then she'd take the other one, take the spare horse home.
Yeah, and there was this. You know how in Harry Potter there's the Whomping Willow?
Yeah.
Remember that tree when we were there that kind of had this branch that extended for a really long time vertically, and it was kind of like this canopy?
Yeah, you mean horizontally?
Horizontally, I mean, not vertically.
Yeah.
That kind of reminded me. It didn't look like the Whomping Willow, but there definitely could be some like tale where like the groundskeeper tells some little kid like, "Oh, don't go out by the tree at night," or something like that.
The tree at night.
We used to do some crazy stuff there too. I feel like I was about 10, and there's 2 things that stuck in my mind. One was I had a pretty good friend he was kind of wild, I guess, and I remember distinctly like people trying to push him out the window of a second-story classroom when the teacher wasn't there. I think or maybe he'd gone out onto the ledge or something, and like people were like shutting the window so he couldn't come back in. That was one thing. And then the other thing I remember was we had carpentry, and it was down in the basement, and it was just the beginning of the basement. So you go down like these stone stairs, and then I feel like there was like a corridor that was like caution, do not enter, and like carpentry was on this side of the do not enter, and then this corridor just like went off into the blackness for God knows. You just couldn't tell how far it went. And me and this guy, the same guy who was almost pushed out the window, just thought we'd go down it one day. And it was pitch black, and we felt our way along like the walls.
Oh my god!
And I swear we came out at a completely different part of the campus, like sometime later.
Really?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That
That's so cool.
I'm sort of disappointed that was not the very beginning of some kind of fantasy novel.
Yeah.
It still could be.
Maybe there's another generation of kids doing that right now, but they're gonna happen upon some like. Turns out it actually is a magical portal.
Yeah, you guys you missed a turnoff in the darkness, and that's what leads.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now they're gonna have like their phone flashlights on, and they're gonna be able to see it more. Yeah.
That is classic.
One thing that I wonder is because at the time that George and I grew up, probably for the first like 12 years of our lives, we didn't have phones.
Those are the days.
And phones weren't a super big thing.
That's back when I could talk to you and get a response.
Yeah. Phones probably weren't a super big thing or even like technology wasn't a super big thing probably up until like 4th grade, I want to say. Like it's not like you went on your iPad or like watched YouTube videos a lot.
Yeah.
And I wonder, what did I do back then for my leisure time?
Yeah, that's not good. I don't think that's good.
Well, what did you do, George?
I think I read, and I think I read more than I still read a lot. I probably read for like an hour to an hour and a half every day, but I probably read a little more then. I think I used to like go exploring. I have a creek in my backyard.
Yeah, I remember that.
I used to go exploring down there. I remember we found like a white wall tire. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Luke Gilbert. Luke, if you're watching, what's up?
Shout out to Luke.
Shout out to Luke Gilbert. Found a white wall tire, and that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago we went exploring in the creek, and we found some pottery.
Oh,
like some
yeah.
broken pottery. And I really thought that was like authentic Native American pot. It was obviously just
Just
some
pottery.
Some broken pot.
that like had a cool design on it.
Yeah.
But I really thought it was like, oh my gosh, like this is an artifact.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose that, and then I lost it.
Me and my other friend Miles, if you're watching, what's up? We also went exploring the creek, and we found like all this rusty, like we found like a fence post. We found like all these pieces of a toilet.
Yeah, I remember
We
you
found
telling me
all,
about that.
and we brought it up all into my backyard, and then we just kind of piled it up, and I was like pretty stoked on that. And I was like, all right, that was cool, that was good. And I kind of just hung out there for like a week, and then my dad like put it all in his truck and drove it to the dump one day. And then I like got home and it wasn't there, and I was just like heartbroken. I was like, "What did you do with all that?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I put it in the dump," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was so mad.
The artifacts are gone.
I remember, George, one time your grandparents came over and they had their dog Harley.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
No, may he not. Well, eventually. For now, let live in peace.
Yeah, may he. Yes.
May he live in peace.
May he live in peace. Was there with us.
Yeah.
Also came with your grandparents to the house, and that was one of the days that we went exploring, and Harley came with us into the creek, and we were all just like going
up into the creek.
Going up in the creek, and I felt like I was inside. You read some kind of wind. I don't know. That's kind of a spike. I don't know what we're gonna do about that. You read some book called The Hardy Boys, right?
Yeah.
As a child.
They were like two brothers, and they would solve mysteries in like this old, like in like the 50s.
I kind of
like go get milkshakes or something after.
Yeah,
Secret Seven
some
sounds
diner.
like
Yeah, Secret Seven. That's
Yeah.
sort of just the English version of that.
Call it superior. Call it what you want.
Yeah, no, and I felt like I was in like the Hardy Boys or something. Like, I'm going off with George into the creek, Ma.
Yeah.
Or something like.
We're bringing the dog along too.
Yeah. Yeah, that felt like really.
I remember when I was a kid, I didn't have a bunch of. There wasn't like television, but there wasn't really a lot of electronics besides that.
Yeah.
But I did get like it must have been like a popular electronics magazine or something like that. And I must have been about 12, and they had plans in there for a metal detector, and I thought, I'm going to make this. I could do this. So I did. Me and my friend were kind of nerds, and we were into electronics.
What did you have to like buy the things, or did you just like make it?
Well, it listed the components, so you would get like the blank circuit board, and then you get the components. And I remember you had to like have these copper loops of copper wire that kind of overlapped each other, and you had to like glue them in place in just the right thing and tune it. And it was kind of a big deal. And you like made the handle out of a plastic pipe, and they worked fine. And he and I went out, and we found some really cool stuff. We found like grenade shell, like not full grenades, but like
like
the exploded
bits.
parts from
That's
like,
really cool.
World War
cool.
II. We found like coins. We found old coins, like silver coins and coins from the 1800s.
Yeah,
That was really cool.
You grew up in a time where
was a different era.
you could conceivably find something actually cool.
Yeah, it's probably all been found by now.
Yeah, you found a toilet which was cool, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
even.
it was. I
And
remember
it was.
we were digging it up, finding all this pottery
Yeah.
or porcelain. Didn't know what it was, and then I found the flusher, and that was like the moment where it was like, okay, we got a toilet, guys.
So that is cool, and it's a it's a good anecdote. But George, I think we can agree, doesn't compare to finding parts of grenades from World War II or
No.
old coins that like, I don't know, like had like Queen. Who's the Queen before Queen Elizabeth?
I remember like George VI was like one.
There's King.
It was a king who
My
we
name
found-
brother.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
namesake.
Yeah, like had some coin with like, oh, it's George VI from whenever. Is it true that Hobby like threw potatoes at King George VI?
No, it was the current Elizabeth's coronation, I think.
And he threw potatoes down there?
Not at her specifically, but at the guards that were accompanying the procession.
In anger or in celebration?
Just
These English
in
and their customs.
youthful mischief, I think. Yeah.
English kids definitely have a lot of youthful mischief.
Somehow through his cousin, he gotten access to wherever it was. I don't want to say Buckingham Palace, but somewhere like that. They were in the bowels of whatever place this ceremony took place, and they stumbled across a bag of potatoes and thought it would be funny to chuck potatoes out the window I think at the guards that were.
like through was there like a glass window that they threw potatoes?
No,
at?
I think it was more the old school like 1500s where it's just a cutout in the stone, not real glass.
Yeah,
like that hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean it had then when my dad was there, but not in the 1500s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many stories that come with growing up in England in that time. Do American grandparents have these same sort of stories?
Yeah,
but are they that cool? did they throw it at Hoover
Roosevelt?
or something? Roosevelt?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Maybe some good. Oh, what about my dad's mom is from Canada, which is like England in that it's not America. But she grew up in like this very, very small town in Canada. And every summer, this is classic.
Okay.
Every summer they would go. Her dad was like a really handy guy, of course.
Yeah.
And he built them a cabin on a lake, on a island in a lake.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Did he boat the materials out?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
It was
super cool.
I visited it last summer or 2 summers ago.
It was like a real cabin?
Yeah, shockingly small. They had like a reasonably large, I think like 4 or 5 kids. It was probably I would say 20 by 15 feet. One room.
So kind of like.
Wow.
Yeah,
like
you can't see the area we're in, but it's like the area we're in.
Yeah.
And the island is probably, it could fit total like 3 other cabins of that size.
Wow.
And they would go out there for the entire summer.
What?
Yeah.
How did they get food?
The entire family?
They could. It wasn't that they could boat back and forth.
Oh,
but
I
they'd
see.
like live on the island for every summer, for the whole summer, and just like swim in the lake and go on little rocks around the island. And it was like it's a small lake, it's a small island. It was a tiny cabin, and they would just like spend their summers there. Which is
That's
like,
awesome. How far was the island from the shore?
It's probably like a 5-minute boat ride.
Oh, okay. So if you got mad and you'd had enough of everybody, you could like get in the rowboat and like I'm out of here.
Yeah. But that's crazy to me, but also really cool.
That is cool.
That's
really
cool.
I mean, that would take a lot of back and forth probably to boat out all those materials to make a cabin.
Yeah. Even a small cabin, that's intense.
That's a lot of logs or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think
We'll have to look that up on Google Maps. Is it on Google Earth? Like, can you see it?
It might be covered by trees, maybe.
Oh, okay.
If we can find it on Google Earth, we'll put the link to the Google Earth in the description.
That'd be awesome.
I just think, like, I bet every English kid's childhood from probably the year 1930 to 1965 or 1907, I don't know, just kind of like before the world was kind of like it is today.
Yeah.
I feel like every English kid's childhood could be like put in some really like film or something.
Yeah.
And it could be like some nice like movie.
Yeah.
I feel like we did stuff that you would never do now. Like I remember, well, I wasn't a kid, but I was pretty young. Like cutting down a pretty good sized tree and burning it.
What?
I feel like the tree was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 feet around at the base and probably,
Wow.
I don't know, 30 feet high or something. And it just needed to come out. So it wasn't like I was being malicious. It was a chore.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a fun one.
That sounds super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and then the fire.
So you just like chopped it fell over, and then you just lit it on fire right there? Or did you take it somewhere?
I think I dragged it behind the car. It was in one field, and I think I was supposed to burn it in the adjacent field. So I was old enough to drive a car, but not much older than that, and obviously old enough to operate a chainsaw, which seems a bit dangerous in retrospect. But,
Yeah.
But you just stack the whole thing up, and it gets 10 feet high, and you're making this huge fire. And
That's super cool.
I just feel like you wouldn't do that in Santa Barbara, probably.
No.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I don't think you'd probably just light all of California on fire if you did that.
That's
Yeah, that's
But
super
even,
big.
Even
Yeah.
if that wasn't the case, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it was just like you could just. It was just chiller.
You could
Yeah.
just kind of do
whatever.
things.
Yeah. Disposing things through burning was that was fully.
That was kind of like
that was the thing to do.
that was like a life hack a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
You can just
It was-
burn things.
It was sort
Oh,
of
you gotta get rid of
expected.
that? Yeah, just light it on fire.
Yeah. I mean, not cars and things, but like
Yeah.
organic matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, like, what would even a kid like growing up in the city in England? I feel like it would be like, still. I see kids. No, this is what I do. Well, it's not what I do. I don't know why I said that, but I've seen when we go to England and you go kind of into like the more urban area of where they live. It's still not
Yeah.
a super big
Yeah, it's a
city
town.
at all. It's a town.
Yeah.
And you see these like English school kids like walking in these groups in their uniforms with their backpacks and stuff. And they look so classic, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They look so much like English school kids, like just got out of school, just like gonna go do English things. I don't know, but it's insane.
I think the week before I went to that cabin in Canada, I was backpacking in Iceland. And that was really cool. And there was a large group of English schoolboys who were on the trail at the same time as us.
In Iceland?
In Iceland. It was for like a school excursion or something.
Okay.
And we were all, we were in line for these terribly cold showers. And it was like pretty cold out. And you had to like stand in this big long line to wait for these like bad showers. And it was just a generally uncomfortable. We were really tired. Not a great time at that point. But there was like this massive group of English schoolboys behind us, and they were all like ganging up on this one kid who was named George. And they were all on their English accents, like, "What you on about, George?" Like, "George doesn't get the shower." And all this stuff. They were all like arguing over like what dinner they should make, and they were all getting mad at George because he wanted to make spaghetti for like the third night in a row.
That's
really
classic.
ripping into him.
Yeah, we play. In England we'd play cricket in our grandparents' driveway because they have this really long gravel driveway. It's not super optimal for playing, but it's long enough that you can kind of hit it straight.
Yeah.
So we set up. They're called the wickets, which is very English.
Yeah.
Did you know that, George? Did you know that?
I know about cricket.
Yeah, so they're called the wickets. That's what you bowl. You know, that's
Sort of
kind of like the
strike
base.
zone.
Yeah, it's kind of like the strike zone and the bases
Exactly.
in one.
Yeah.
But there's only
baseball.
there's two sets of wickets.
There's two sets of wickets. So the bowler bowls, which is like pitching from one of them to
it
the
doesn't
batter.
roll though. It doesn't roll.
What
Or does it roll?
The ball?
When you say bowl, that's a
Oh,
throw.
it doesn't roll. It's like a straight armed throw that bounces once.
Okay.
And then you have the wickets. You have the batter on one side and the bowler on the other side. And so you set up the wickets, and if you hit the wickets, the batter's out. And it's also like the bases. That's where you run to and from.
You just run back and forth between the two wickets?
Yeah.
How many times?
As many as you can
Before what?
before they get you. It's like baseball in that when you throw it, if you throw it and hit the wickets before they get there, he's out.
Okay.
So
So do you ever stay on base, or do you just keep going until they hit the wickets and then you're out?
I don't understand the question.
Let's say you got a hit but wasn't great, so you ran to the other set of wickets
You
Okay.
just stay there.
and stayed there.
Yeah, there's two batters
Yeah,
at
there's
the same
two.
time.
So
So
yeah.
they switch ends.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if
So
you
there's-
if you get one run, now you're at the other end, which is
Oh.
not the receiving end of the bowl, and the other guy is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so we'd set up the wickets, but our wickets were kind of they were makeshift. It was just like a few balls and buckets that we'd stack up, like these little buckets. We stack them on top of each other, and this group of English school kids came walking by. They came down this trail that we were talking about, that this English lady got mad at us, and they were walking down the road, I think on some field trip or something. And one of the kids said, "Oh, it's a ball on a bucket on a bucket on a ball on a bucket." And he's like, we thought that was super funny that we didn't set up the wickets the right way. Like we were just using balls and buckets.
I'm sure we got a picture of that. We could post a link to that too,
Of-
so people could see what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. We have a pic. We definitely have pictures or videos of our setup in that driveway.
Yeah.
That's
But that was
hilarious.
freaking hilarious.
Was it really a ball on a bucket on a bucket on a ball?
It kind of was, because
I
it was
think it was, 'cause-
there was those like little beach buckets, like the
Yeah.
like little kids take the beach. So you put like a bucket and then a soccer ball, and then another bucket upside down, and then another bucket and
Right
then a
side
ball.
up and then a ball. Yeah.
That's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What if the wicket gets knocked down? You're setting that up again?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it blew over, you just set it up, but it made it
And
really
it-
easy to knock it over if the ball hit it, so you
Okay,
could
yeah.
tell.
And also we'd put like rocks in the buckets so that it would be a little
more stable.
more stable.
Stability.
Stability.
So that's classic. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of interactions I have with English people are just classic.
Yeah, just exactly what
Like-
you'd expect.
Yeah. And then there was one guy. I'm not saying English people are. Okay, I think I should just tell the story. I was gonna say I'm not saying English people are sympathetic to Nazis.
Yeah, you better not be.
Yeah.
And
I'd say the
so,
opposite, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
They definitely have a bias against the Nazis, which we all should
English
have.
people have a certain distaste for Nazis.
Yeah. But and I wanted to say that because I wanted to say that this scenario is not representative of English people at large. But we went to this car boot sale, which is kind of like a flea market, where people sell things out of their boot, the boot of their car.
Trunk.
That's the trunk, George.
For any of our American listeners.
And this one guy was selling like World War II memorabilia. Is that a good word for that?
Yeah, sort of accessory.
Yeah,
just
like
odds and ends.
Odds and ends.
Not memorabilia in the way like you would print a T-shirt saying World War II on it. But like actual,
So maybe I don't know what memorabilia means.
Well, maybe it was memorabilia. Maybe that is the right word. But it was
War
stuff
II
from World War
merch.
II, like
Stuff from World War II.
like
yeah.
bayonets and bullets
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like real.
And this English
stuff.
guy came up with this. English guys often. There's a few archetypes of English guys that you see at these car boot sales. There's kind of like the old dude who's maybe a little fat and smoking a cigarette or a cigar. There's like a really pale, some pasty kind of chubby dude, but he's definitely not fat. And he's like got his little kid. He's taken by the hand. He's got a tattoo on his arm that's kind of weird, and he's like smoking a cigarette or vaping, and like he's wearing a
Yeah.
tank top or something like that.
Well, let me just say, in order of most gross to least gross, in my mind's eye, for vaping, smoking cigarettes, and smoking cigars, it's that order. Most
Vaping's-
gross is vaping, then cigarettes, then cigars.
Yeah, I'd say I agree.
And I think they're all pretty equally bad, but, like, I don't know.
I think smoking cigars is probably the least bad. Do you even smoke it, or do you just like? I don't even know how that works.
I
You,
think
like,
that'd
That
be a
just
weird-
seems the most. It seems like smoking a cigar doesn't seem like you're like, oh, give me nicotine. It just sort of seems like you're just having a cigar.
Yeah.
like Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
There was the whole thing where
Yeah.
this
Well-
quarterback for LSU won the national championship and had a cigar after, and it was like
Oh.
these photos in like Sports Center.
That
like,
seems a weird combo to be
cigar.
smoking a cigar and like dragging your kid around a car boot sale though.
Yeah, well, usually these guys aren't smoking cigars. They're not so
Wait,
classy.
one-
They're
Right.
usually having a ciggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to England when I was in like 4th grade, and my mom had a friend who grew up with her in the Bay Area, but then moved to England and is now married there with kids. But I think they might have moved to Dubai. But at the time they were in England, and we were visiting them during Father's Day, and the dad of the family, Paul, just had a cigar on Father's Day, and it's like, he didn't smoke cigars, but like
Yeah.
apparently for like
Yeah.
special occasions he
Yeah,
just
that's
have a
funny.
cigar.
Yeah.
And like we sat in like this little park, and it was very
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah. So back to what I was saying about the car boot sales. There's a few kind of fat, like old English guy who probably had that classic English childhood. There's kind of a less classy, kind of a little bit chubby dude who's like vaping and wearing a tank top, really pasty, with his kid taking his kid around.
There's a sort of the quintessential skinny guy that you feel like is probably like broken into places
Yeah.
by virtue of how skinny he is.
Definitely.
And he can get through small windows
Yeah,
and stuff.
He
yeah.
slipped through a few cracks. He wasn't supposed to slip through.
Kind of wiry and like yeah.
in some movie there'd be some movie about crime in England, and he'd be like, oh, he can get through anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
when they're
old
assembling the
bastard,
crew.
yeah.
There was
He's
a-
like, oh, it's old George, he can get through anything.
There's that exact character
Sneaky
in the Great
bastard.
Train Robbery, and they have to bust him out of Newgate Prison because
Yeah.
they need him to break into somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Is
Yeah.
he quite thin?
Yeah, he's like this tiny, skinny, wiry guy.
Yeah.
That's
hilarious.
basically another
Yeah,
archetype
basically
of
that
guy. You see this thing that I was talking about, Nazis in the World War II, kind of
Memorabilia, for want of a better word.
Yeah. this guy was selling all this World War II stuff. This guy comes up, he's like, "Oh, how much for the swastika?" And he's like, "Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want that for?"
Gross.
It's just like a little, I think like a little like patch or like
Yeah, some uniform insignia
yeah,
or something like that.
and it was a swastika, and he was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
give me that!" Like,
I think our
Yes, please, that one.
I think our best hope was that he was some sort of historical like professor that maybe
Yeah.
wanted it for his class.
Yeah. Maybe he wanted to just
something.
like burn it. You know,
Yeah.
he wanted to
Maybe,
get it-
yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed
Yeah.
most reasons to want it were not wholesome
Yeah.
reasons. Yeah.
I think something. Car boot sales are really fun though, because it's always fun to like. I don't know. I've always wanted to kind of haggle with an English guy
Yeah.
and like try to be English.
I'm not comfortable at all with haggling. I've been in
True,
very
yeah.
few scenarios
Oh.
where haggling has even been on the table as an option.
Yeah.
And I think in every single one of them, I'll just be like, okay, I'll pay whatever you say.
Yeah,
I think my mom is the opposite of that. Like
Yeah.
a transaction cannot be transacted without. I mean, like list price is not an option.
Like
yeah.
at Walmart.
Yeah.
Well, in like retail establishments, I think she's willing to pay the sticker price, but like in a car boot sale, like it is not.
Yeah, you're not.
Whatever you ask is not the price you're
Yeah.
going to be getting for it.
So what my wildest dreams at a car boot sale would be like, they call it quid. They call
Yeah.
like 5 pounds is 5 quid,
Yeah.
and they also call it like a 10-pound note is a tenner,
Uh-huh.
which is, I don't know if they do that here. I haven't heard people do that here, but it's just kind of funny. It's just kind of classic. So I'd want to be like, you know, they're selling it for like 10 quid, and I'm like, 10 bloody quid.
What you on about?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'll
like-
give it for 8.
Yeah. I won't get this piece of crap for more than 5. Yeah, and then, but I feel like in this fantasy, it would be like, you know, it's not in bad. It's all in good faith.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna be like, if you get the best of him, he's like, oh, you bastard. And
Yeah.
he's like,
Get you next time.
He
Okay.
reluctantly
No,
gives it
you
to
and this
you.
guy have
Yeah.
gone back away.
Yeah.
You're sort of both old, but
Yeah.
every weekend you
Yeah,
go
it's
and
like-
go to the car boot sale.
Yeah.
I feel like remember the potatoes? So Oliver wanted to
Yeah.
get they had these bags of potatoes that were like 60 pounds of potatoes, so a lot of potatoes.
Yeah.
And I think they were 5
At
pounds.
the car boot sale?
Yeah, at the
Yeah.
car boot sale.
What an
yeah.
odd thing to.
Well, they sold all
Well-
kinds of stuff. They sold like food and flowers
And like fishing,
plants.
like fishing rod. Like we go to this one place, and every like these fishing rod guys must be like the first ones there, have some reserved spot, because like you go in and immediately on the right there's this whole gallery of fishing equipment.
But I feel like we never really indulged his fantasy of purchasing 60 pounds of potatoes.
Yeah.
He's got a very entrepreneurial spirit, and I think
Yeah.
the thought of 60 pounds of potatoes for only, $7
Yeah.
was just too
Oh,
good
you
to
could
pass
do
up.
something with those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go find a coronation. You have a field day.
Yeah.
When,
I think he was thinking more French fries, but yeah, coronation, that would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coronation, antics,
Yeah.
mischief.
Mischief.
Yeah.
Hijinks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, car boot sales are kind of like, it's a bit of a gamble, because you can walk around for 2 hours and really find nothing but crap, or you
Yeah.
can stumble upon something really cool. Like I found a cool, we would get some cool records.
Yeah. Do you have a record player? They're
We don't
kind of cool to have.
They're cool to have.
They're
and-
cool to
and
have.
We framed them and stuff, and like we got
Yeah.
this like we got a.
Beatles?
We got the Beatles, we got Sgt. Pepper, we got some Rolling Stones one, I think. We got like the Police and stuff.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon. Did we get? I think we did.
I feel like we did.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Some Queen one. They're just kind of cool to have, and it's kind of a cool little thing of. And if you have a record player,
Then
if we ever get one,
Now you're living.
that'd be cool.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. But I don't know. It's cool to have records, but it might be like you're trying to do too much or something. Because, like, I feel like some people could get, like, all into records and it'd kind of be annoying.
Yeah. No, that's definitely like
Yeah.
I listened to that on vinyl, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
shut up.
You're in danger of getting to there. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I feel like you could spend $4,000 on the ultimate turntable, and then,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you're buying these diamond styluses for
Yeah.
your record.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to turn into that guy. But I did like
I
you
don't
know
think- I don't
some.
really think you're in danger.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
But you know, you find some bloke selling some cool old record at a car boot sale. It's like, how can I pass this? It's like it's like literally like £1. Like stuff costs nothing there.
Yeah. I remember they had this. I should have got it, but it was too heavy because you can't really fit it in your luggage. They had this cool like a Underwood typewriter, like you would see in like a movie for like in the 20s or 30s, like an old film noir with the keys that are super raised
So
up and you have to push
clappy.
them straight.
Also, kind of just a cool
just a
decorative
cool,
thing.
Exactly.
Even.
That was my thought. It was just like a cool looking thing. But
Yeah,
I don't
because
know if I can lug 30 pounds of cast iron back.
we have these shelves at our house, like this like built-in thing in our living room, where that kind of just has like some stuff on it. Like it's got a piece of driftwood. It's got like this like red bicycle little toy. So it's just kind of like random stuff.
That's where the typewriter.
That's
would
where
go.
the typewriter
that's
would go,
exactly
and that
what
would
a
look cool.
typewriter
That would look super
region.
cool. Yeah. No, car boot sales, those are life hacks in a way. I feel. You can get. It's also a little bit creepy though. Like they're not creepy, but it's just like, oh, I don't know. There's like always some like mom smoking a cigarette, like has some van that's selling like a bunch of like children's clothes, and it's like, I don't know, like,
What's going on there?
what the
Yeah.
heck, like
Yeah.
I kind of get freaked. Like, I'm not a big, like, I don't know. I'll go into a, what's that called? Thrift store.
yeah.
But I don't really like it. I don't like really, like, I don't like little shops that have, like, things. Like, like,
Yeah.
No.
That is what shops generally have those.
It makes it really tough to buy.
I know.
anything.
Yeah. What sort of
I'm a
shops do
massive
you like?
fan of online shopping.
Yeah.
No, like, I like a shop with a purpose. I don't like a shop that has. I don't like a knick-knack shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like Anthropology was like that. Like you'd go in there and like
Yeah.
if you had to summarize in one sentence what this shop is, what does it sell? You couldn't really come up with.
You'd have to say just like just things.
it's just
it's-
it's like clothes and like
it's-
earrings and like also like
but not
we-
really clothes because there's only a few and like
Yeah.
and there's soap, but I don't know why they have soap.
and there's and then there'll be like some weird decorative thing that it's like maybe a typewriter. Like they might sell,
Yeah.
or just like some like,
or some huge light that hangs from the ceiling that
Yeah.
you'd never have room for in your
Yeah.
house.
it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of like,
I think the thing with the car boot sale, it was a little bit, it was cool and you could get deals, but it was a little bit sad too, just because it was like, it was the person selling their stuff. It was kind of like a thrift store, but there was like no middleman. Like,
Yeah.
it was sort of a sad insight into their life
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like what do you? It's just offloading all the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some of them you
Thrift store,
were
you don't
worried
have to
like they wouldn't eat lunch if they didn't sell some of these baby clothes or something. I don't know. It was just a
Yeah,
little bit
could
sad.
be like.
there's always some sort of odd dude there selling something like, why do you have this in such great quantities too? Like there'd be some dude like
Yeah.
selling like 5,000 toothbrushes or something, or like
Yeah.
like
Allow
some
them to
candy,
amass
like
that.
some off-brand candy that it seems like he just bought in bulk from some shady supplier, and like
Not off-brand, but candy from different countries. That's like there. You'll always have it in a class, like some person from some nation,
100%.
and they'll bring in like a lollipop flavored, like they call it like unicorn flavor, but it's really some mysterious little thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, these are the best little candies. You gotta try them." But
yeah, there's a kid from there's a bunch of kids from Hawaii in my grade, and that's been a thing before where they bring in Hawaiian candy. They're not even to like show, not technically to show it off, but
come on.
they show it
Who you
off.
fool?
Yeah, like you know.
I remember when I was in elementary school, we had this, I don't know if we were studying like oldie-timey stuff. I remember they brought in like a butter churn and made butter, and it was really gross. It was not like today's butter.
Yeah,
It was,
butter.
but I remember we either made or somebody brought, and it was called Whorehound candy, and it was like this hard candy from Little House on the Prairie days, and it was gross. Like candy back then just must not have been much of a draw, because it was really nasty.
Well, I bet their food was like anything was just better than their normal food, so they just call that candy.
Yeah, true.
The bar was low, I guess.
They probably made it from some like weird like you see those berries on that tree where like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's edible, but like they made it from that like
But we'll turn that
I'm just
into
gonna
a
say it
hobby.
is.
yeah,
edible.
it's a berry. It's probably sweet maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever. We'll give it to kids.
Yeah, we'll give it to kids and call it candy. That's definitely a big thing. That's kind of a Harry Potter thing where it's like, oh, I don't know, the whole like jelly beans that taste sweet.
Yeah.
Harry Potter
Yeah.
kind of gets it. I feel like they kind of get the whole English school kid experience. Apart from the magic,
It's
you know?
pretty accurate. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say so. Yeah.
Like you go to boarding school and like, you know, some of the teachers are all old and crabby and like.
That's exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I lived that. Yeah.
your family was in America,
Yeah.
and you went to. So you grew up in England, and then they moved to America, and you did boarding
No,
school?
I was born there, and then we moved to America. And then when I was about 10, they thought it would be a good idea for me to go to school there.
Uh-huh.
So I went, and they were anticipating moving back.
Okay.
So I went in September, whenever school starts, and then they moved in maybe 9 months later, something like that.
So if the first years of your life were in America?
England.
For
'Cause
how
that's where I was
many?
born.
Yeah, how many?
Like one.
Okay.
Okay, and then you came to America and
And
So-
I went through like 5th grade or something.
so
Where
what
was
your
that?
accent?
Pennsylvania.
What was your accent like?
It was a
I'm
hybrid.
curious. Was it really? Because like your parents were English, and then you moved to America, but
Yeah.
you moved to England in your youth.
Yeah.
Did you stay in England from age 10 on?
Yeah, until high
Until
school.
high
Until
school.
high school, yeah.
So
And then
did
you
you have
came
an
back
English
to Amer-
accent coming
Yeah.
into high school?
Yeah.
But so you had an American accent going to England and then developed an English
I
accent?
must have, yeah.
Huh, that's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
I guess it's gone back and forth.
And then you moved. So you went to boarding school until high school, and then moved back to America to do high school.
No, I went to boarding school for that for 3 months of the year where my family was not there yet, and then I went to live with my grandparents and went to school with them
Homeschool.
There's
for like
the old
6 months.
rectory.
Yeah, there's the old rectory.
Yeah.
And then my parents moved. The rest of my family moved to England, and so I joined them and went to other schools that were
Yeah. Huh.
equally English and miserable.
How was boarding school? Is that crazy?
It's pretty crazy.
Well, that was a pretty short time for you.
It was short. The things I remember about it was, I mean, it was pretty miserable. But you can imagine being a 10-year-old in a different country than your family going to school with.
Yeah, that'd be brutal.
And it was like a very culturally ingrained that like kids, like my dad had gone to the same school, and there were lots of kids whose dads and grandparents and maybe great grandparents had gone to the same school. So there was kind of a tradition of just this long-standing chain of families that would go through the school, and it was very hierarchical. Like being the new person, you were just the absolute
yeah.
bottom of the totem pole. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of bullying. It was pretty
That's rough.
aggressive and violent, and I remember the food was terrible, and I don't think we got very much of it. I remember like going down to the kitchens like after bedtime, like after lights out, and like looking for food, like
Yeah.
we would find
Like
bread in the kitchen.
scavenging? Oh
Yeah,
my
kind of
gosh,
scavenging.
That's like brutal.
It was pretty brutal. I remember this might be like your dad will like this. This might be like the seeds of my vegetarianism. I remember like one of the meals there we had this bacon was part of the meal, but it was just
English bacon is like not
I'm
bacon.
pretty sure it was just fat because
Yeah.
it was translucent. It was like strips of translucent plastic that tasted a bit like bacon, but it was
Yeah.
super chewy. I don't know, and I was kind of grossed out by that.
No.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of food, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I remember I had this friend from Saudi Arabia. Like he and I kind of connected. I think only because we were like probably the two kids from the furthest away, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, you tend to get bullied. And the kids that had been there a long time, like I didn't start at the beginning. I didn't start at the youngest year, so you know, it would be like start going into 4th grade here when everybody's already friends and they already know each other, but the
Yeah.
cliques are really tight, so it's kind of hard to get in.
Yeah.
You're from a different country.
Yeah.
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 So-
Although I feel like, I don't know, if a kid came from a different country to my school, that would be like kind of cool.
Well, yeah,
I
that-
thought that would be.
That was like
Yeah.
my freshman year. I was taking AP Environmental Science, and there's this guy Daniel from Latvia,
Oh yeah.
and him and his brother just moved. I think their dad was like quite wealthy, so he just kind of sent them off. And his brother was going to City College, and he was going to San Marcos, and I became buddies with him, and I called him Daniel of Latvia. It
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Of-
He
yeah.
would like he like just walked around with like $200 in cash all the time.
Yeah,
So-
that's so Eastern European
yeah.
person in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fuck
Did he have like a gold money clip?
Yeah, or, like he wore some like gold chain and like a tracksuit maybe or something.
He didn't, but he
He could have.
could've.
he
could've
just kind of
pulled it off.
wore. I think he wore like a hat. He wore like a hat.
Yeah, yeah, no, okay. So kind of not the full tracksuit, but like
A hat.
maybe a hat.
I feel like things are different now. Like if somebody's from another country, be like, "Oh, cool, you're from Latvia. That's great. Let's
Yeah.
tell me about it." Back then, it was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, well, it's just a reason to beat you up." If
Yeah.
You're from another country.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. How much time are we at?
What are we sitting at here?
I can't really tell.
Is this where people are sipping water?
Yeah.
Hour 16.
Oh,
Hour 16.
That'll probably do it.
I think that'll do it.
That episode flew by.
it
That
did.
definitely flew by.
I think this episode might be the GOAT.
It's so far. I think yeah. I think.
That
What
was
is
lovely.
a goat? Is that like a dud?
Greatest of all time.
Oh.
It's an acronym.
Now there are only
Yeah.
3 so far.
That's true.
So George, I think maybe we get Art on. You know, he's got quite a bit to live up to in terms of just overall guest prowess and also stories from childhood.
Yeah.
You got to get the moms too.
He's.
True.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get
We
a
gotta
moms. We'll get a dads and a moms episode.
Yeah.
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 Head to head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get.
I think he's got. Yeah. I think he's got some stories.
He's got some chops. Yeah.
Probably like,
I'm not gonna underestimate him.
yeah.
All
That's
right.
that's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're asking for, and then.
Yeah.
So that was episode 3 of the A Bit of Everything podcast.
Follow us on Instagram at abitofeverything.podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that is correct. Subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you subscribe, so we have 9 subscribers. If you're a subscriber, you're probably listening to this. I
Yeah.
hope you are. Comment if you're subscribed, because I want to know who the subscribers are. You can't see who the subscribers are. If you're subscribed unabashedly, you don't care, you could shout it from the rooftops.
Comment
How about you comment that down below?
down below, and we'll get back to you.
We'll get back to
If
you.
you're not subscribed, subscribe now and then comment that you've just
Yeah.
subscribed.
I'm expecting a minimum of 9 comments, hopefully more.
And watch out for episode 4. We'll post. Episode 2 will be out right now.
We'll be out today. Today is Saturday.
Yeah, episode 2 will be out shortly. We'll post this one sometime, and then episode 4 will come after that, probably with my dad Art.
Yep. Battle of the Dads.
Battle of the Dads.
Boom.
We could also have Scott Weber on, Ben's dad. He'd
Yeah.
be really good.
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
I think dads might be the way to go.
Yeah.
What
You
about
know,
Clara's dad?
Clara's dad, that might be the same dad as George's dad.
Do we know?
We don't know.
Okay.
We're not certain, but we're pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll catch you later. This is Ashton, George, and Ivan signing off.